Where God is, all things are possible. And we know that God is everywhere, beyond the universe. Our minds get so limited. We think sometimes that our neighborhood is everything, or our city is everything, or our state, or our country. And some of us can expand to the whole planet. But then we forget that planet Earth is a tiny little pinpoint in a far-off corner of a minor galaxy. And there are 100 billion galaxies in the universe that we know of. And where God is, all things are possible. And God is everywhere. So how can we limit ourselves to our bodies, or our neighborhood, or anything else? When we stand and say, I can't, or my parents didn't do it, or what would the neighbors think, then we're stuck. When we see something happen, do we immediately go to our preconceived ideas? If you see somebody that is sick, do you immediately start with, oh, poor thing, how you must be suffering? Or do you look at them and see the absolute truth of their being and know that the health of God is within them and can express through them? And this is the true experience for them. Do you give them the totality of possibilities? See, when we see someone suffering, we don't want to bring ourselves down to that level, because if we do, we cannot really help them. I spend my life seeing the truth in people, and it's amazing the number of people that get it and work with it. What we do with our minds is incredibly important. In fact, that's the whole thing that we're talking about, what we do with our minds. Our minds are creative. We can create anything with our minds. We can change all circumstances. We can go in any direction. We create our own reality. We do this by the thoughts we think and the words we speak. And when we can really understand that, we have the ability to make changes. So is our reality one of limitations and lack and I can'ts? Or is our reality one of the totality of possibilities? How much do we allow ourselves to stretch? When you have a problem, do you immediately set up the walls of your limitations, your mental limitations, or do you go through them? Are you using the tools you have learned? Or when there is a problem, do you immediately jump back to the old reactions? And where are your limits? Where do you see your limits? Remember, all fears are limitations, all fears. We put those up and it's like we have this wall around us that we can't go through. And not only can we not go through, but nothing can get in. Nothing can get in. All prejudices are limitations, all of them. We limit ourselves by saying somebody's not good enough. How can that be true when all souls are equal? The soul has no color, and the soul has no sexuality at all. So we want to go beyond that kind of limitation. All judgments and criticisms are limitations. When we judge another person, when we criticize another person, we are putting a wall up, and no way can good come to us. When we judge ourselves, when we criticize ourselves, it's like we've slammed a steel door down. And how can good come into our life? How can the totality of possibilities really operate when we're putting up our walls and our limitations? All guilts are limitations, all guilts. And we can't do that. There is no point in getting into guilt. If you've really done something in your life that's terrible, don't do it again. Just don't do it anymore. Guilt is a way of holding on to the past. And when you live in the past, you are not in the totality of possibilities. The present moment gives you the opportunity to move into the future. You can't live in the future either. You can only live here because this is where everything is happening, right here. See, when you are unwilling to forgive, you place limits on your growth. And yes, there are many of us that have things that are extraordinarily difficult to forgive. And yet it is part of our evolution and our growth. I've said this many times and I really believe it. I think we come to this planet many times to learn whatever lessons we need to learn. And for some of us, it's like coming to kindergarten. It's real simple and we just skip through life and it's easy. And for many of us, it's like going to graduate school and the lessons are much tougher. And yet we come in with everything we need to handle every situation that there will be. And we want to know that. We don't want to put limits on ourselves.